When somebody's having a hard time losing weight, they'll almost always feel like, man, I'm doing everything right and I just can't lose weight. I'm putting in all this effort and blah, nothing. And the reality is that it's usually not about like the amount of exercise that you're doing or even the specific diet that you're using. It's more often about mistakes that are being made within that diet, or malfunctions in the body, or imbalances in the body that are restricting weight loss. Or it can be this issue where there's like something that'll help like 3 people lose weight, and that's the only people that it's going to work for, but those people won't shut up about it. So everybody thinks that this should work for everybody because it worked for those 3 people. So in this video, I'm going to give you 15 reasons that you're having a hard time losing weight, and you're going to be able to figure out which one really applies to you and which steps you need to take to reach your goals. I'm even going to give you a bonus step at the end. It's going to be crazy. Let's get to work.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
Now, as I'm going through these 15 reasons that a person might not be able to lose weight, just understand that I'm not going to be able to fully explain every one of them. This will be a 14-hour video. Nobody's going to watch that. But in the description below the video, you click on the more, and then you see all this stuff in the description. I'm going to list each of the 15 things, and under each one, we'll put a link to a video or some other information where you can learn more about that topic. Because the reality is that they're not all going to make sense for you. They're not all going to apply to you. But odds are great that as we're going through these 15 reasons, that one or maybe even more are going to resonate with you. And you're going to be like, oh, that's me. I bet that's me. I bet that's why I can't lose weight. And then you're going to be excited and you're going to say, oh, this guy helped me find my answers. He's the greatest kid in the whole land. Clickety clackety click. But the reality is that I'm not the greatest kid in the whole land. I'm probably like the 4th or 5th greatest kid in the land. No, that's not accurate. Okay, she says that is not even close to accurate. But what you want to do is the ones that resonate with you, go below, investigate more, learn more, take actions, and then you lose the weight and your pants don't fit. And then you blame me, but I'm not going to buy you new pants. So the first reason we want to cover is somebody not managing their blood sugar. And most people watching my channel for a while are going to understand that eating too many carbohydrates is going to create insulin spikes, and that high insulin is going to trigger the body to store more fat and restrict fat burning. Most people watching me know that kind of stuff, but a lot of people, it just kind of surprises me how many people don't know this yet. So we need to put this as the foundation because it really is the biggest factor. So I just made a video about why most people can't lose weight. And this is the reason why most people can't lose weight. So I'll put the link below, and it just kind of walks through the day in the life of a human eating food these days. And it explains why the way that we eat really restricts the ability for us to lose weight. But we really have to understand how to manage our blood sugar, because our blood sugar directly affects our insulin levels. And the insulin levels really can be the driver to our ability to burn stored fat for fuel. If insulin says no go, then we ain't burning stored fat for fuel. So if we can manage our blood sugar correctly, then we can help insulin get to the right place that we can burn that stored fat. And it's not just about like, oh, I'm not going to eat any carbs because I'm trying to manage my blood sugar. Some people with like hypoglycemia type issues, their managing blood sugar can be they need to keep it on an even keel, because when it crashes and goes too low, that can raise these stress hormones, and the stress hormones tell the body, hey, we don't need glucose. Why don't you make some? Just make your own glucose. They're not going to get any, make your own. So the body makes its own glucose, raises insulin anyways, and then we still can't lose weight. So we really need to understand how to manage that blood sugar to keep it on an even keel so the body can be feeling good about what's going on. Which takes us to problem number 2, which is a person being insulin resistant. Because if a person has been eating too many carbohydrates too often for too long, the body's going to continue to raise that insulin to deal with that higher blood sugar level. And the longer that insulin is high, the less receptive the cells begin to become to that insulin. So when the cells are like, I don't want to listen, insulin's been yelling at me all day for years, I'm not going to listen to it anymore. Then the body's like, all right, I'll just make more insulin to get the job done. So eventually the cells become less receptive to that insulin. Insulin stays a lot higher, a lot longer, constantly sending the signal to store more as fat. Don't burn fat, store more as fat. So if a person's leaning insulin resistant, and we have some videos about understanding how to figure out if you might be leaning too far on that insulin resistant side or not, but if you're leaning too far on that insulin resistant side, you really have to correct that problem, or you're going to have a difficult time losing weight no matter what diet you're eating. An insulin resistance problem is going to magnify the issue of storing fat. So we really have to correct that problem, or we're going to have a hard time getting into those smaller pants. So we'll have the links below for our video on why we become insulin resistant and then how to fix insulin resistance. So dig into that further if you feel like that could be a problem for you. Now, problem number 3 that can restrict weight loss is not making enough stomach acid. We really need to be able to break our food down into the elemental nutrients that our body needs in order for our body to really benefit from the foods that we're eating. There's a lot of people out there that believe that weight loss is just about this calories in, calories out. You have to burn more calories than you consume. If you consume too many calories and you do not burn enough calories, you will have too many calories and you will add weight. Blah, 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 blah. The reality is that if you're in this camp, you need to understand that you are what is called wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's wrong. So there's a lot more reasons that a person could store fat, store body fat, store junk and toxins in fat, and it has nothing to do with the amount of calories that a person is eating. So if a person can't digest their food correctly, that has to be broken down by process of rotting and fermenting. And that rotting and fermenting can create gases and toxins and all these problems. So now instead of the food giving the person fuel that it needs to run the body, it's giving the body a burden. Now the body's got to figure out, what do I do with all this junk that I can't process correctly? Oh, I know. I'll shove some of it in fat cells. You can't shove everything in fat cells, but there's a lot of stuff that it can shove in the fat cells for safekeeping because the body is just overburdened with all this junk that it doesn't know what to do with. We really need to be able to acidify our food properly in the stomach so that it can be broken down so we can use it. Did you know that that's why we eat food? We eat food to get the nutrients from that food, and you can't really do that if you're not digesting it correctly. So if you're dealing with digestive symptoms like burping or bloating or acid reflux or constipation or diarrhea or nausea or even acne or skin issues, all of these are signs that your digestion is not working correctly and you're not really breaking down the food the way that it should. So if you're having those symptoms, check out my book, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts. Chapters 3 and 4 walk you through figuring out which aspects of digestion are not working correctly, and if so, what steps you can take to correct those. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'll have a link in the description below where you can get the whole thing totally for free, and that'll just walk you through that process. And that brings us right to mistake number 4, which is bile not flowing correctly. The gallbladder stores this bile that was made by the liver, and then after the food is acidified in the stomach and leaves the stomach, the gallbladder squirts this alkaline bile down onto that acidic product to neutralize those acids. And when this alkaline product meets this acid product, those opposite pHs create this sizzle that really helps us bust the food apart and get all the nutrients out of that food. The problem is that it's really common for someone's bile to become too thick and sticky to flow correctly. And we'll have a link in the description below for our video on 10 signs of poor bile flow so you can see if that's a problem for you. But if someone's bile isn't flowing right, they don't have the ability to emulsify or break down our dietary fats. We use bile to break down those fats so that the body can use those fats. So if bile's not flowing correctly, not only do they not get that sizzle so they can get all the nutrients out of their food, they also don't have the ability to emulsify our dietary fats, and then those fats become like rancid and a problem for the body instead of giving this body all these resources that it needs. So we really want to make sure digestion is working correctly, or weight loss is going to be a really, really difficult task. Problem number 5 is an inability to detox correctly. When the body can't get rid of toxins, it will take some of those toxins and shove them into a fat cell. Oops, that had nothing to do with the calories that you brought in. toxins can be stored in fat cells, expand those fat cells, and expand your pants. The problem is that when the liver filters toxins out of the body, just like it's supposed to do, like a good kid, it puts a lot of those toxins into our bile that it then stores in the gallbladder. So if the bile becomes too thick and sticky to flow correctly, it can't flow down there when it's supposed to meet that acidic product and then flow through the intestinal tract, carrying those toxins with it, and then out the back door when we poop like a champion. But if bile's not flowing, those toxins aren't going out the back door. And now those toxins get reassimilated into the system, and the liver's got to filter them out all over again, and then the liver gets overwhelmed, and then the body's like, what do I do with all this junk? I'm going to shove it in some fat cells. So we really want to make sure bile is flowing, because that's the main detox pathway for the entire body. And if the body can detox, it's not dealing with all these burdens, it's going to be a whole lot easier to lose weight. Number 6 is too much stress in your life or too much stress in your body. Either one can create similar problems. When we get stressed, our body views that situation as like, hey, we're running from a lion. We just need to survive. So the body changes the way that it functions in an effort to give you immediate fuel to deal with this emergency of running from a lion. The body doesn't know that you're stressed because you're stuck in traffic or you forgot your science fair project at home. It just thinks that you're stressed because you're running from a lion. So it changes the way that it operates, and it'll raise these stress hormones. And a lot of these stress hormones will tell the body to make more glucose right now so I can use that as fuel. And that raised glucose is going to raise insulin levels and tell your body to store more fat. So if we have stress in our life, we need to find ways to simmer down now. And maybe we have stress in our body that we don't even know about. If the body doesn't have all the resources it needs to carry out all the functions it needs to take care of, that can be a big stress to the body. If somebody's not digesting correctly, they can't get those resources out of the food. Maybe somebody's dealing with some type of chronic infection or some type of digestive overgrowth problem that is stressing the body, and the body needs more resources to deal with that. Any type of stress can raise those stress hormones and cause some problems. So if you can find ways to reduce the stress in either your life or stress that the body is dealing with, it can make it a whole lot easier to lose weight. Problem number 7 is fasting when you really shouldn't be fasting. Like all the cool kids use intermittent fasting now, and I even use intermittent fasting. I use intermittent fasting with some of my clients. I'm a fan of fasting. It can be very beneficial for a lot of people. But when someone's body is not set up to be fasting, when they fast, they're just magnifying the problems that they're dealing with. They're creating a bigger burden for the body, they're stressing the body further, and in most cases, they're actually creating weight gain instead of weight loss. So we'll have a link in the description below for who should not use intermittent fasting, so you can see the problems that can be created by fasting and understand the things that might need to be corrected for you before you qualify to get the benefits from fasting. Problem number 8 is over-exercising, and this is really common because so many people have this calories in, calories out mentality that they're like, oh, I'm going to put a whole bunch of calories out. I'm going to do non-stop calories out. I'm going to watch old episodes of Chips while I run on the treadmill all day so I can out. Well, it doesn't really work that way. When you're burning more fuel than your body really has access to at that time, that's a big stress on the body. And remember how we just talked about how stresses are going to magnify weight gain. So you really want to work out in a way that's working with your body instead of just trying to force this situation that's really not going to work scientifically. You want to allow the body to feel good about what's going on so that it will let go of stored fat. It views this stored fat as money in the bank. So if it's really stressed about the situation going on, it's like, oh, I got to keep these reserve fuel sources because this is a really problematic situation going on. I'm going to keep this backup just in case. When the body feels good about what's going on, it'll let go of that stored fat. Problem number 9 is that if you have pie in your mouth right now, and you might be thinking, oh, I really like pie, but you don't want to eat pie if you want to lose weight. And a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm doing all these things right, I'm doing all these things right, I'm doing these things right, and pie. And the reality is that some people can get away with this when their insulin is efficient enough that it can process carbs and glucose using a small amount of insulin. Then the insulin doesn't get this big spike, and it doesn't tell the body to store all this fat. So we see our friend, well, she had pie, she pied, and she's fine. That doesn't mean that you can do that too. If your insulin is more on the resistant side, or maybe your insulin is just not as effective, your body needs to make more insulin to process that same amount of pie, and now you're storing fat. So even though some people can have treats and still lose weight, if you're having a problem losing weight, you're not that person. You want to remove that stuff completely and get to the point where you're feeling good about your weight, and then you can see how much can I get away with. Now I can start implementing some of these things and see what can I get away with. But you really want to try not to overdo it when you're still in the process of trying to reach your goals. I had a client tell me one time that I was doing great, I was losing weight, but then last night I ate 12 donuts. And I was like, well, the piece of information that I want you to gain from this is that I don't want you to eat 12 of anything. If you're eating 12 of anything, then that's probably going to create a problem. So if you're eating 12, like, you're probably just not good at sharing. So step number 9 is just be better at sharing. But when people find themselves in this situation with, like, oh, I had a little bit of junk, and then, oh man, I had all the junk. There's problems going on there physiologically. It's not that, oh, I have a sweet tooth, or oh, I'm just a binge eater, or oh, I just can't have any willpower. It's usually about things going wrong with our physiology that's creating that problem, which takes us to problem number 10, which is cravings. If somebody's having cravings, that's going to derail their progress. So there's usually issues that are causing the body to say, hey, I need something now. I'm having a terrible time. Give me that thing that I could break down very easily. Processed junk sugars break down very easily. So your body's searching for something that it can use in a pinch. Now, if you can help your body get what it really needs, it won't scream for vanilla wafers. It won't tell you to go get a bag of ding-dongs and eat them all. It will help you understand that, look, if I just get the nutrients that I need, your cravings will basically go away. So we'll have some links in the description under this cravings topic. If this is a problem for you, you really need to dig deeper and understand the steps you can take to help your body get what it needs, and the cravings can really be gone. Problem number 11 is restricting calories too much. When somebody's viewing the calories as they are the demon, they're going to restrict them to the point to where it's going to create stress and problems for the body. Guess what? The body's going to get nutrients whether you give it to it or not. So when you're starving yourself, it's going to eat anyways, and the thing it's going to eat is you. You're going to be the 7-Eleven that your body shops at, and it's going to break down muscle, it's going to break down tissues, it'll even break down organs to access things like proteins and minerals and nutrients. Here's the hint. You need your organs. So restricting calories is a big mistake. You hear about people all the time, oh, I was only doing 500 calories and I don't know why I couldn't remember what my name was. You really want to give your body nutrition, so again, it feels good about what's going on. Restricting calories too much is going to create problems more often than not. Problem number 12 is using a low-fat diet and not consuming enough good fats. The body needs fats for all these operations, so if you're not bringing it in, it will hold onto that stored fat like that money in the bank. So allow your body the fats that it needs to complete all its functions, and it'll be more willing to let go of stored fat. Problem number 13 is not eating real food. When we're eating these diet processed junk foods, they're like, oh, this is a keto bar, oh, this is a paleo, flu-flo, fla-flo bar. All these things are still processed foods that your body doesn't really recognize as foods, and it might meet your macros, and there's going to be people that can eat this junk and still lose weight, but there's a lot of people that just can't. So if you're stuck and your lunch comes from a bar, you got to switch to eating more real food, and you got to make sure that you're getting real sources of protein. If you're eating like soy-based Franken protein, here's a burger, but it's not really a burger, these are problematic. It's all processed foods that your body doesn't recognize as nutrients coming in. So you want to try to get more real food because that's what your body understands how to use. Give your body what it needs. Problem 14 is food sensitivity issues. When someone is having sensitivities to foods but they're consuming those foods, basically the body is going to war against those foods. That's a really big stress on the body, and it's going to reduce the ability for the body to let go of stored fat. So if you're dealing with a lot of symptoms and can't figure out what's going on, you may be dealing with some food sensitivity issues. So we'll have links in the description below for our videos on understanding food sensitivities. But if this is a problem for you, you really want to correct this because that can speed up weight loss a lot. Just by helping the body not go to war every day. Every time you have lunch, it doesn't need to stress out. So fixing those things can be a big deal. Number 15 is mineral levels being too low. If you don't have the ability to really break down your food and get the minerals out of that food, then mineral levels can be low and then the body can't do all the operations it needs to do. So you can look at this and get an idea of what's going on by just looking at your blood pressure at least 2 hours after a meal, but not first thing in the morning. It should be after a meal. And if that systolic number, the top number, is below 112, then that's a sign that you may not have enough minerals in the system for the body to function the way that it wants to function. That's going to create a lot of stress to the body and kind of magnify a lot of those problems that we've already talked about. So we'll have a video below about low blood pressure, but if you know your blood pressure is low, you really want to dig deeper into that topic, and that could be what's restricting your weight loss. Now, 16, and it's a bonus one. It's coming out of nowhere, but this is a really big one, and it's when people don't plan ahead. You really want to know what you're eating that day before you get to that meal. If you don't know where your next meal is coming from, you could get busy and then you get really hungry and then you become ravenous and then your decisions are not good. You make horrible decisions when you're really hungry and they seem like great ideas. Lucky Charms in a taco shell, that's going to be perfect. This is really not perfect. It's not a good idea. If you can plan ahead, maybe even have a cooking day where you cook some protein ahead of time and then the next day you just use that protein in a meal or two and it makes everything a lot easier. But the biggest part is to know where your next meal is before you get there. Know what breakfast will be before you go to bed. Know what you're going to have for lunch before you leave for work. Just know where your next meal is going to be and you won't have those episodes of, I just had ham with toothpaste on it and a box of uncooked pasta. You really don't want those things. So if you plan it ahead, it's not going to happen and then you'll stay on track a whole lot easier. So I hope this video helped you find maybe some factors for you that might be a problem that you can correct. And since the body detoxing correctly and digesting correctly and also emulsifying those dietary fats correctly is such a big deal and bile flow is such a big part of weight loss, jump right now over to our video on 5 steps to improve bile flow so you can get some insights on ways that you can get that going a little bit better and help your weight loss a little bit more. I can't wait to hear about your results.